SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
You're listening to Sports Talk Mississippi On Demand, presented by Pearl River Resort. Escape to Choctaw, Mississippi and enjoy world-class gaming, the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, and Geyser Falls Water Park. Escape to Pearl River Resort.
Sports Talk Mississippi is on the air. Sports Talk Mississippi is powered by C Spire. Power your home or business with C Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C Spire. C Spire Fiber powers Super Talk Mississippi. To the junction, in the Grove, and to the top. This is Sports Talk Mississippi. On your radio and in the game, right here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome in on a Thursday, Sports Talk Mississippi. Brian Haydad off again today. He'll be back on Tuesday. I'm Michael Borky alongside Will East, and I am realizing that no matter what was offered, I could not do politics. There's, for those of you that don't know, there are TVs set up in here. One is for like regular TV watching that you're used to. The other displays the video that goes out on SuperTalk TV. And I've been sitting here for just a couple of minutes, and there's been a news channel on, and I have more, in those 5 minutes, I have more respect for Richard and Gerard than I had going into it. I could not do that every day, and I know how important it is. I know how much you guys care. That's why we have the shows, and that's why they do so well, but it couldn't be me. I don't know how Richard does it in particular, being a sports guy forever. But I found the heritage, so now I'm feeling better. We're glad that you are with us. As promised, coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, you've got an hour of draft talk with year 4 of our buddy Rob Paul. We talk big picture stuff, Fernando Mendoza, how worried should teams be about Desmond Bane's arms being the shortest, like, ever, when you consider the type of prospect that he is, and it sounds like the Saints are going to take him at number 8 regardless, but he's got T-Rex arms, apparently, and how much does that matter? But also, we hammered down the local guys. We talked a little bit about Trinidad as well, talked about what Dallas needs to put around Dak Prescott. He thinks, spoiler alert, he thinks defense is where the Cowboys need to add in this draft. Talked about Harbaugh and Dart, and then we also talked about this year's prospects, Deshaun Stribling and Brennan Thompson, 2 guys he actually really likes to go earlier than most other draft people think that they're going. So it's a long conversation. It's a good conversation. That's coming up in the start of the 5 o'clock hour for the entire hour. We also have regional projections that came out. We will get to those. Brian Kelly on TV. I think it's a bad idea. Top Gun 3 apparently in the works. Maybe we'll talk about that. The college football playoff going to 24 has supporters from one of the major television networks, and he said one of the dumbest things. We will talk about that as well and more. Of course, your texts on the text line, the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Would love for you to be a part of the show today, and we are in the Pearl River Resort studio. We've got some rain coming through this weekend. It's actually going to knock the temperature down just a little bit. If you want that spring golf, summer golf is fun too, but if you still want those spring temperatures, go ahead and take advantage now, this weekend. Dancing Rabbit. I think Sunday's a high of 70. You're not going to get that for much longer, guys. 2 championship-level 18-hole courses. Obviously, the entire gaming floor. If you want to play slots like Haydad or play cards like a man like me. No, I'm kidding. Haydad's actually a big-time card player. If you want to do any of that, you can eat, relax, check out their website for all the quality shows they've got coming. PearlRiverResort.com is the website, and we are, again, in the Pearl River Resort studio. First text of the show says, Thursday loser, Justin Thomas. Yeah, I guess I can use the acronym, DFL. He is in last place right now in the Heritage. Struggling is Justin Thomas. I think I've told you guys this before, but my uncle's best friend is Justin Thomas's dad, so I'm always tracking him and rooting for him, but He's had a rough go of it lately, has Justin Thomas. But let's start with college football. Because I saw this via our friend Ben Portnoy. I probably should have him on to talk about stuff like this. You guys know that in college football, there has been a push to expand the playoff again. You also know, if you listen to the show every day, that Haydad and I both agree 12 is enough. 12 is a perfect number. Maybe you need to alter the format to avoid having James Madison and Tulane make it. Because that, I mean, if we're being honest and we're not being overly sensitive, neither team had any business playing in the playoff. Neither one. They were not competitive on the field. From the second the ball was kicked off, Ole Miss was beating Tulane and Oregon was beating James Madison. Those teams could not compete on the field. Maybe you alter that to avoid that situation happening again. But 12 is a good number. You have clearly a number where teams outside of the top four can compete for and win a championship. You've seen that happen. It doesn't ruin the regular season. The regular season still is pretty darn good right now in college football. You don't have a cheapening of the big games as a result of the number of the teams in the playoff. It's a good round number. But it's not going to stop the SEC and the Big Ten from expanding it to at least 16. You guys probably know, if you listen to us every day, that there is an impasse between the two leagues who now control the playoff format. It's only up to the two of them. The ACC and the Big 12 have, provided input, but they don't have a say. They can argue on behalf of one side or the other, but they don't have a vote. The Big 12 or the Big 10 and the SEC are the only ones that have a vote. The Big 10 wants 24 teams. The SEC wants 16 teams. And because they can't come to an agreement, that's why we didn't get expansion. That's why Greg Sankey's getting a lot of heat, deservedly so, for going to 9 conference games without the expanded playoff. The CEO of Fox Sports gave a quote to Sports Business Journal. This was his pitch to Tony Petitti, and this is why the Big Ten wants to go to 24 teams. Here's his quote. This is the CEO of Fox Sports. Quote, "I think 24 solves an enormous amount of problems. You've had people in the SEC come out and say that their championship game has run its course." He's, of course, talking about Greg Byrne, the AD at Alabama, and Kirby Smart, obviously the head coach at Georgia. There's a theory that championship games have run their course. You can create A, more valuable games that the schools need, but B, one of the big knocks against college football is in the first 3 weeks, it's actually hard to find great games. I'll go back to that in a second, finishing the quote. If you don't get penalized for playing those big non-conference games early and there's a bigger pool of teams that can get into the playoff, the schedule gets better in September because you won't be penalized for playing great games. And then in November, you have more meaningful games because a lot more teams are in play to be able to get in. I think it's probably inevitable that it expands, and hopefully, at least from the research we've done, the best model we've seen is 24. That is the CEO of Fox Sports, who obviously is wanting to get in on the bidding for the college football playoff. Currently, ESPN owns it all. If it expands, ESPN won't be able to pay. They won't be able to pay for every game. So that's when Fox can swoop in and buy some games, and there you go. Similarly to the NFL. The NFL has multiple television partners. The college football playoff probably ideally wants multiple partners as well. But that quote, one of the big knocks against college football is in the first 3 weeks, it's actually hard to find great games. What's he talking about? Well, what is he talking about? That is a completely... people overuse the phrase false narrative. But that is a completely made-up thought from the CEO of Fox Sports. Now, in the Big Ten, you have that phenomenon. The last 3 national champions, all from the Big Ten, did not play a Power 4 conference game in the non-conference. Look at Indiana's non-conference schedule last year. A joke. Look at Michigan's. A joke. Look at Ohio State's. A joke. They didn't play any of those power games in their championship years. But in the SEC alone, this is just involving SEC teams in the first 3 weeks of the regular season where apparently you can't find any great games. You have LSU Clemson, big brands. That place will be nuts in week 1. Ole Miss, Louisville, 2 ranked teams to start the season. Alabama's at Kentucky in a conference game. Arkansas's at Utah. Are you kidding me? That place is going to be absolutely electric. Mississippi State's at Minnesota. Oklahoma is at Michigan. Tennessee is at Georgia Tech. Texas is hosting Ohio State. Texas A&M is hosting Arizona State. Alabama's hosting Florida State. Arkansas and Georgia play a conference game. Auburn and Florida play a conference game.
But if we're honest with ourselves, they don't want to play those games, and they're going to do everything they can to get out of those games in the future, correct?
But the SEC is for you have to play Power 4 non-conference games for the SEC. Have to do it. It is a requirement based on their scheduling model. Mississippi State's at South Carolina in the first 3 weeks. You have Vanderbilt and NC State in the first 3 weeks. If you're going to try to sell me on we need to expand the playoff to 12 because there is no good games in the first 3 weeks of the season, good luck. It's like trying to sell ice to an Eskimo. He doesn't need it. If that's your argument, Big Ten, Fox Sports, that we need 24 teams because there's no good games in the first 3 weeks of the season, what are you talking about? We have great games in the first 3 weeks of the season. Nonsense. Total nonsense. We'll get to a couple of your messages on the text line. 601-879-4395. Sports Talk Mississippi on a Thursday.
From the Venable Talk Mississippi continues.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. Michael Borky and Will East with you. Wednesday of next week, we will be in Senatobia, Northwest Mississippi Community College. They keep inviting us back, not because they like us, but because for whatever reason, once they started inviting us, they started winning on the field, on the court. They just win constantly at Northwest. So we're going to be there for their celebration of champions, which, it's just what they do there. So we will be there Wednesday. Yeah, I don't think you can come see us, but we will be there in support of the celebration of champions there at Northwest. On the text line, talking about the CEO of Fox Sports saying that they need to go to 24 in the college football playoff because there's simply not any good games in the first 3 weeks of the season. And if you expand to 24, you'll get good games. Somebody says it would kill the regular season. It's a false narrative in the SEC. Another one, 12 legit bowl games would solve the question for a selection committee of who makes the college football playoff. So if I'm reading your message correctly, you want the season to end, 12 bowl games, then playoff after? If you are, I like where your head's at, you're creative, I think that's a little too complicated. When, quite frankly, they could make this a lot more simple by getting rid of auto bids and using strength of schedule, which is another thing, by the way, that Greg Sankey promised last offseason. Remember at SEC Media Days, not only did he say it on the stage, but in his conversation with us, we've secured a new criteria for selection with the playoff committee that strength of schedule is going to carry more weight. It didn't carry more weight at all in last year's selection. I mean, quite frankly, Ole Miss benefited from the lack of strength of schedule. A&M had to play Miami in their game. Ole Miss got to play Tulane. A&M had a more difficult schedule than Ole Miss did.
Yeah.
Same record, same league. Strength of schedule actually favored A&M. Ole Miss was ahead of them. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happened all throughout this deal, though.
Humans are always going to look, and it's based on their rankings, they're always going to look at a team that is 11-1 versus a team that's 10-2 and say that 11-1 team, they're better.
It's just what they do, and it's not right. But now that the SEC's added 8 losses to the league, guess what? It's going to get worse because the committee has established precedent that they don't care about strength of schedule. How many wins do you have has mattered more. Andy says, guy from Vox is delusional. It comes down to Big Ten scheduling. Absolutely. Somebody says, there will be better games in the future in the beginning of the season now with an expanded playoff allows good teams to play each other and risk a loss that won't hurt them via Ohio State, Texas. But they're already playing each other. That's the thing. What game is not currently getting scheduled that would if you expanded to 24? The SEC requires it already. What games are we missing? That would be my follow-up question to him. What are you missing?
Yeah.
Because, and I don't necessarily buy that teams are going to schedule a lot more difficult if you go to 24 anyway, because the aforementioned already established precedent, the strength of schedule doesn't matter. So wait, you're telling me that, I can schedule a week and I can still win 10 games and make a 24-team playoff? Why would I go play Ohio State and risk my quarterback getting hurt when I can play Ohio, beat them by 40, and it doesn't impact me at all? I guess maybe the answer is money, I suppose, but I don't think you can lose more games is a great sales pitch to the people that are scheduling the games. Fans don't want to lose more games.
No. They want Indiana's schedule. Have you seen Indiana's 2026 schedule?
It's a joke. But if you have it up, read it. It's horrible.
North Texas, they were good.
They just lost their coach, to Oklahoma State.
Quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. The Howard Bison, didn't know they were the Bison. Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Northwestern. At Rutgers, their first road game is on.
Look out!
Is in early October at Rutgers. It's where birthplace of college football right there. At Nebraska, home against Ohio State, at Michigan, Minnesota, bye week, USC, Washington Huskies. It does kind of get more difficult towards the end.
They got
and then Purdue.
They got a worse draw from the Big Ten than they've had the previous two seasons. They've been able to avoid some of those teams, but still, that's their non-conference.
Their non-conference is North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky.
That's it. That's it. And last year's, if you can go to the tab, last year's, look at who they played in the non-conference.
All right, let's see. Non-conference. They had Kennesaw. They had Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State. I did not know Indiana State had a football team.
I did. I only knew that because Indiana played them, but I couldn't tell you the last time I've ever seen their existence.
Name that mascot.
The Sycamores.
You're correct.
Only because
Larry Bird.
You go to parties in college and people would wear Larry Bird jerseys from Indiana State. But yeah, and Michigan's the year before when they won the national championship just as bad. They didn't play a Power 4 non-conference game. And they're getting rewarded for that. Ohio State played Texas last year, beat them. What did they get for it? They didn't get anything for it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Somebody says Fox Sports would pay untold millions for the broadcast rights to Ole Miss LSU. Yeah, you guys, we've said this before, but go ahead and pencil in College Game Day for that one. They won't miss it. I do wonder if the league office steps in when it comes to time of game. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but there's always been the narrative, if you will, that the Georgia-Florida game, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, is a day game for safety. It's just because of the way the two fan bases approach that game, and they would take over the beach on St. Simon's Island, and you have people doing Jell-O shots at 6 a.m., and just it's better if the game gets played during the day for all of those reasons. Wouldn't be surprised if that's part of the conversation. It's better for the safety of that game to play it at 2:30 instead of 6:30.
Absolutely.
Especially, you saw it in Neyland. I don't know if a day kickoff would have made that environment different, but man, there were people that were there that truly felt like their safety was in danger leaving that stadium. And I hope and think that Ole Miss fans will not create an environment where children leaving a stadium feel threatened of physical violence, like a couple people I know, when their kids were literally threatened with physical violence on the way out of the stadium. But still, maybe just to make sense, kick that game off in the day, So the dispersion after the game happens during the day, and you can just kind of police that situation better. We saw it last weekend. I mean, whatever your opinion is about how that went down, a apparently drunk 52-year-old man was in a student section putting his hands on the throats of students before he punched the wrong one after getting a beer thrown on him. That's at a baseball game in April. What do you think people are going to act like when they roll into town for a football game in September? It's easier to police that stuff during the day.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if they get together and that game's not a night game for that reason. Would not surprise me. Think I'm crazy? I don't know. Somebody says 24 is a perfect number. I just disagree. I don't think we need it. Who's asking for it? At what point during last year's playoff, that's probably not the best example because of Tulane, James Madison, but did you think, you know what? I needed Duke in here. The ACC runner-up. I needed them in this playoff. I mean, I guess you could argue Notre Dame, but who else wasn't there? Utah? I mean, those are the teams that you're talking about that would have been in a 2014 playoff last year. Who wanted that? Yeah. Who asked for that? Who was missing, that was truly missing, maybe sans Notre Dame last season?
I mean, it seems to me the smartest thing to do would just be roll out the old BCS, rank them that way, no automatic qualifiers. Your top 12, that's your top 12.
And what I don't understand, Will, is why don't we use a quad system in football? We use it in basketball, and it's easy to understand. If you play a road game and it's a top 25 team, it's a quad 1 win. Or no, if you play a home game against a top 25 team, it's a quad 1 win. If you play a road game and it's a top whatever team, it's a quad 1 win. It's easy to digest and understand, hey, Mississippi State has this many quad 1 wins and Oregon has this many quad 1 wins, therefore Mississippi State's going to host a regional and Oregon is not. It's so easy to digest and to understand as a fan. In football, we have suits behind closed doors in a room using a formula that nobody knows.
That's the problem.
Be a little more.
It's the humans, Michael. It's the humans that are the problem.
We'll keep on this. A lot of messages are coming in. Good energy to start the show today. So glad that you guys are with us talking college football in April because why not? Sports Talk Mississippi, Pearl River Resort Studio. We'll be back in just a bit.
From the flatlands of Mississippi.
Sports Talk Mississippi.
Every minute worth waiting for.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi, talking about college football playoff format. The Big Ten pushing for 24. The CEO of Fox Sports claiming that the first 3 weeks of the regular season, you can't find any good games, and so that's why we need to go to 24. And we've been reading some of your messages after that. We get this one that says, but ESPN tells me 11 a.m. is prime time. Of course, being sarcastic, but here's the problem, my friend. More and more people are watching the early time slot. They do rate really well, and they're rating better. You had a couple of instances last year where the 11 a.m. game, the big 11 a.m. game, drew the same TV number as the big primetime game. It's here to stay until you guys stop watching it. So get used to having a matchup that you think deserves to be at night, be at 11 a.m. because, man, people are watching it. Fresh out of game day. I don't understand that part. That doesn't make any sense to me. We got soccer games at 11 o'clock on Saturday mornings, and people have baseball, and all, their kids are doing stuff. I am far more likely to have nothing to do at 7 o'clock on Saturday night than I am 11 o'clock on Saturday, but the numbers suggest otherwise. People are watching.
I think just more people are watching college football, right?
More people are watching everything. The Masters,
live sports in general.
I mean, the Masters had broke a 10-year record. I mean, it was a compelling Sunday. Scotty, Rory, big names up there, but I mean, beat last year's Grand Slam that went to a playoff hole by 2 million people. Live sports is just, I can't explain it. I mean, the Bass Bassmaster Classic, 6.5 million people watch that thing.
Crazy.
6.5 million people. So if you're putting sports on TV, people are just watching it more now. I can't quite figure out why. It's probably a combination of a lot of things, right? The prevalence of gambling certainly helps. You can bet on everything. You can bet on that fishing tournament if you want to. Yep. You can bet on if you can right now bet on whether or not Liv will actually finish the 2026 season or not. Imagine losing a mortgage payment because you bet on a golf league folding now or folding when the season's over. They're going to fold. It's just you get to pick which day. So that,
I think access.
You
know, I can remember the days of, well, that game's not on TV. It didn't happen anymore. I mean, pretty much every single event, as we discussed yesterday, is on TV. So you can watch.
And it's harder to find, like, the shows. Where do you watch Paradise? Paradise is going to win a lot of awards. Where do you watch it?
I have no idea.
Where do you watch Severance?
Isn't that HBO?
It's Apple TV.
Apple TV. Close enough.
But seriously, so it used to be all the big shows were on whatever, like it's on ABC tonight or whatever. Now it's, have you watched this show? Never heard of it. Well, it's on Paramount Plus. Well, I don't have that. Have you seen this show? It's on Apple. Well, I don't have that. I mean, I went to a crawfish bowl a couple weeks ago, and that exact conversation literally happened. I was telling my friends to watch Paradise, which is on Hulu. And they're like, I don't have Hulu. And I'm not going to go buy it to watch a show. So TV in general is just kind of falling off because the lack of access. It's all everywhere. Yeah. It's scattered. Sports, even though sports is scattered, I mean, you have YouTube TV, you can watch it all. You have Hulu, you can watch it all. Yeah. You have ESPN, you can watch it all. So maybe that's it. Somebody says, move the college football season up a week or two, put a few good bowl games on the schedule for teams in the South that are going to play in the heat in some dome. So you're talking like neutral site early season games, like where your head's at. Fans would like that. Get rid of conference championship for Power 4. National championship played January 1st. Portal opens a day or so after, so athletes can get enrolled into a new school within 2 to 3 weeks. I'd rather watch ULM Mississippi State in the Superdome than 11 a.m. in Davis Wade at 100 degrees. So I agree with you completely. There's been some talks about moving the season up because
Ross Dellinger just had something about it, about week 0.
Becoming week 1.
Yeah.
Because you can't compete with the NFL. People, I remember when Ole Miss was making their run in the playoffs. Why is this game on a Thursday? Because if you played it on Saturday or Sunday, competing with the NFL, nobody's going to watch it. And you guys out there might be thinking, that's crazy. I would never watch the NFL over college football. Nationally, that's the exact opposite. Nationally, and the networks air nationally, people are not choosing college football over the NFL. So if you start the season earlier and you get to the playoffs earlier, you can have playoff games on, what a novel concept, Saturday, when college football is supposed to be played. So I'm with you. You do have to protect those first couple of weeks. You really, and it's always been hot. I don't, it's getting hotter. It's always been 100 degrees or feeling like 100 degrees in late August in Mississippi. When has it not been brutal to be outside in Mississippi in August? So maybe, your week 1 games that you have a week earlier, you do the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday big weekend thing and make all of your Southern games in the evening, at night. Or you do what this guy's talking about, where Ole Miss Louisville this year is going to be played outside in Nashville, but next year the stadium will be ready. So you can play that indoors in Nashville. You can play in Atlanta indoors, in the Superdome indoors. Do stuff that way. So they're considering all of it in order to stop competing with the NFL. Somebody says 16 is a perfect number, 24 too many. Look at last year's final top 24. 10 of those teams ended with 3 losses and 4 of them had 4. Need to have a quad system. He says an edit or quad system. I probably put RPI in the phone and it changed to edit. Appreciate you not texting and driving, though, as C-Spire encourages you to do. So teams are rewarded for playing hard schedules, not doing it like Notre Dame this year. Only 2 potential losses on their schedule this year, and they will get rewarded for it. Yeah, Notre Dame's schedule here, I will tell you what it is, because last year's schedule was really bad, too. They won 10 straight because 7 of the 10 were against teams that had a FPI in the 80s. It was horrible. They do open with Wisconsin. But then it's Rice, Michigan State, new coach, Purdue, awful. North Carolina was awful last year. Stanford, awful last year. BYU, Navy, respect the troops, but, Navy. Miami, Boston College, SMU, and Syracuse. That's Notre Dame's schedule. Now compare that to Ole Miss and Mississippi State's. It's not comparable. Might as well be a different sport. Seriously, the second most difficult game on Notre Dame's schedule could very possibly be Navy. It could be Navy, if Navy's as good as they've been lately. Because you have, again, a down Wisconsin. We'll see what BYU is. They're probably going to be pretty darn good, too. But that's the debate we're having. The second toughest schedule, or team on Notre Dame's schedule, is a debate between BYU, Navy, and SMU or Wisconsin. Ole Miss has to go to Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, Georgia comes to Oxford. What a break on the schedule that'll be.
So I asked AI, I said, hey, AI, you're very smart, smarter than me. Design a college football playoff system that improves on the current 12-team format while preserving all conference championship games and limiting the automatic qualification of the group of 6 teams. And here's what it came up with. 4 guaranteed automatic winners from the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC championships. 1 automatic bid for the highest-ranked group of 6 team. Remaining 7 slots filled by the next highest-ranked teams overall. Independent teams, Notre Dame specifically, has to get into that remaining 7 slots. Top 4 seeds get buys. First-round games, 5 through 12, are hosted on campus by the higher seed. So it's similar to what they already have, basically.
I want all the games to be on campus until the championship, just like the NFL. I know we don't want college to turn into the NFL, but, guys, there are some things that the NFL does right, and it's having playoff games in home stadiums.
I think that is the way to go. I really do. Because look at last year. You had all those Georgia fans who just automatically assumed they were going to beat Ole Miss, and so they skipped the game.
Yep. Ole Miss fans, it was 60-40. And Ole Miss fans were louder, like more engaged in the results of the game during the game. But, what about the Sugar Bowl? I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't care if Allstate gets mad that it's not in the Superdome and they can't do corporate retreats to New Orleans and go play TPC Louisiana and take them to Commander's Palace. I don't care. You can have Allstate put their logo on the field in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. Boom, done. You've got it. I mean, it just... Even being in the Tulane game, which when the ball was kicked off, the game was over, that was a different feeling in that stadium than any game I've ever been to in that stadium. It's just so obvious to everybody except for the ones that wear suits. Oh, well.
But they're the ones in charge.
They're the ones in charge. And as somebody says, follow the money, always. But part of me wonders if expanding to 24 will not be as financially lucrative as they think. I don't know. But at some point, aren't you sacrificing your product by chasing the dollar? Maybe that's naive. Probably is. Sports Talk Mississippi. We'll be back.
From the Venable Glass.
Check this out.
Sports Talk Mississippi. Super Talk Mississippi.
My
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. Michael Borky and Will East with you. We got this on the text line. Everything except for Ole Miss versus Southern Miss with 1, 2, 3, 4 facepalm emojis. Got to tread lightly here because when I explain why that game doesn't happen, people think that I agree with that opinion and the burner accounts get mad and stuff like that. I want that game to get played. I wish it would. I wish they would play each other in football. Not a home and home. But I do wish that that game would get played. I think it'd be great. But Ole Miss sees that there's no benefit to it. And back when this was a lot more hotly debated a few years ago, I saw people say, well, Southern Miss will help Ole Miss fill up the stadium. It's a little callous, sorry, but fill up your own before you start saying that you'd fill up somebody else's, especially when that somebody else is selling out their season tickets. I don't think that Ole Miss presently needs help selling tickets, number one. And number two, fill up your own first before that's your selling point to have a game get played. I will be a little flippant about that. I do want that game to happen, though. It'd be a lot of fun. It was fun when State went to Hattiesburg last year. There's a little bit more juice to the offseason when you're playing a Sun Belt team in Week 1. Compare the offseason conversation that we're having about State's Week 1 opponent versus last year. Same conference. But one was Southern Miss and one was ULM. And we're not even talking about ULM. Whatever. It's a game. You know, they need to win by a lot, and if they don't, it's a problem. That's it. But we talked a lot about Southern Miss in that game going into last season. I want the same for Ole Miss as well. But it's not going to happen. So, at least not while anybody in charge at Ole Miss is still in charge anyway. You need a full changing of the guard for that to happen. Somebody says TV is pushing common folks away that would watch sports on local TV, but now they're streaming everything that costs more on top of just watching basic channels. Well, that is, that's changed so dramatically with how cable just went and satellite went up and up and up and up in cost. So streaming came in and filled a void. At the time, it was really cheap, and what a great alternative it was. If your internet was decent, you had TV without having to get some guy to put a dish on your roof. I've still got one on mine. I've never had the service. It's an old dish that I could take down, but I don't know how to repair the holes the right way. And I want to do it the right way, and I'm not going to pay somebody to do it. So the dish is back there. It's hidden, but I still have a satellite dish on my house. So streaming came in at a time to bring costs down. But then it started with Sling, right? Weren't they the first? And then you had DirecTV Now and YouTube TV and Hulu, and then the market got infiltrated. And anyway, streaming at first was a good thing. Now it's part of the problem. I got an email from Hulu a couple weeks ago that my price is going up again.
Netflix is going up.
Gosh, Netflix just keeps going up. And, you pay for it and you still get ads.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you can pay more and get an ad-free version. It's like, what happened to if you paid, you got an ad-free version, and if you didn't, you got ads? What happened to that? But anyway. Can we also go back to regional conferences? No more than 16 teams. What would be your ideal SEC if you could do it regionally? I would get Missouri out. But here's the problem. There's a lot of teams regionally that I think would make sense. I say a lot. Like from a personal perspective, I would love Clemson to be in the SEC. I don't think it'll ever happen because what's the point? South Carolina would fight against it. And what does Clemson bring? It is a good brand. It's a big brand. But do they change the landscape of the conference? Is Disney going to give the conference more for adding Clemson? Probably not. I would like to see Florida State. I think that would be fun, but same problem for them. What truly do they bring when they add them? But I'm with you. The fact that Iowa played, or was it Illinois? I think it was Illinois, played a conference series at USC in baseball last weekend. That's a conference series. What are we doing? That doesn't make any sense. You're exactly right. I think conference realignment's done more damage to college football than anything else. I mean, the Pac-12 used to be relevant, used to matter. And now you've got USC playing Rutgers in a conference game that nobody, I mean, there's nothing to that. And it does damage locally. I mean, imagine being a USC fan. How do you get excited to go watch your team play Rutgers? There's no history, there's nothing. So,
I mean, Cal versus Virginia Tech in the ACC.
I mean, how stupid is that?
It's just
Makes no sense at all. Makes no sense at all. Sid says, should Ole Miss play Alcorn and Jackson State almost every year instead of the out-of-state FCS teams? Keep the money in Mississippi. I absolutely think so. I agree with you. If you're going to play FCS games, I mean, truly, what was the difference between what Ole Miss got out of the Citadel last year and what they would get out of Jackson State? Nothing. So I agree with you there. 100% agree. We will look at regional projections when we come back after the news. Sports Talk Mississippi. Don't go anywhere.
You're hearing Sports Talk Mississippi.
What? This is so awesome.
On Super Talk Mississippi.
The NCAA lost an injunction hearing in Oklahoma. Owen Heineke is going to get an extra year. He's the guy that the NCAA denied eligibility because he played 15 actual minutes of lacrosse for one season at Ohio State. 15 minutes of lacrosse is what he played, and they denied him that year, and he appealed, and they said no, and he appealed, and he said no, so he took him to court, and he won because 15 minutes of lacrosse should not stop you from playing a year of college football. He didn't play 4 years of football and 1 year of lacrosse. No, they were counting that 15 minutes of lacrosse as 1 year.
Good for him.
So he won. But we're not talking about that right now. We are Sports Talk Mississippi. I'm Michael Borky. He's Will East. We will get to regional projections after I tell you, really just a PSA. Guys, you got rain coming this weekend. And you know what rain means this time of year? The grass is going to grow. That's right. It's going to grow. Mine's already growing with or without the rain, but yours is going to grow too. You want a John Deere lawnmower for your yard. Trust me. I keep complaining about having a push mower. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know, but I need to go to Ag Up, and you do as well. You can get the John Deere compact tractor you've always wanted at 0% financing on all 1 through 4 series models at Ag Up. You literally cannot beat 0% financing, all 1 through 4 series at John Deere. Visit agup.com to learn more. Offer ends April 30th. There are restrictions that do apply. Go check out our friends at Ag Up. 15 locations, so there's probably one near you. Check out their website and get a tractor or a lawnmower from the American Tractor Company in John Deere. Nothing runs like a deer. Go check them out at Ag Up. We talked about D1's regional projections that had neither Ole Miss nor Mississippi State nor Southern Miss hosting a regional, and kind of deserved as of this moment, but we will look at baseball Americas. They have UCLA, the number 1 overall seed. That is a common theme here. Opposite West Virginia, the 16, with Southern Miss as the 2 in West Virginia's regional. Baseball America has Southern Miss as the number 17 overall team, meaning that they are 1 spot away from being in a host. Southern Miss, though, especially after the loss on Tuesday, they've got to start stacking some sweeps. The RPI is going to keep going down, playing the opponents that they're going to play after this weekend. Getting a series win this weekend is more than fine, but sweeps have to come for that Southern Miss team. But right now, teetering on the edge of being a host. Georgia Tech, the number 2 overall seed, with Arkansas as their 2. Opposite Virginia, the number 15 overall seed, with Mississippi State as their 2. So if you're following there, they have Mississippi State as the number 18 overall team, so 2 slots away from being a host. A sweep in Columbia this weekend will take care of that for Mississippi State, get them back on track. Now, they need to play better. There's no doubt about it. They need to play better. But the last 2 weekends have not completely destroyed the season if they can find a way to get back on track. Texas, the number 3 overall seed, opposite Ole Miss. So Baseball America has Ole Miss hosting as of this moment. And frankly, if you're looking at their metrics, conference records, stuff like that, that is more appropriate than being on the outside looking in. Ole Miss's RPI is now in the top 10, and they are above 500 in conference play. That is a hosting resume. I mean, there's no other way around it. So Baseball America higher on the Rebels than D1. In that projected Oxford Regional is Kansas, one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in college baseball right now, is the 2. Indiana State and Kent State in the Oxford Regional projected by Baseball America. North Carolina, the number 4 overall seed, with Kentucky as their 2, opposite USC out of the Big Ten. Florida, the number 5 overall seed. Baseball America really high on the Gators. I don't know if I am as high on them as they are, with UCF as their 2, for what it's worth. Bethune-Cookman in that Florida regional, by the way. Again, look out, Gators. Look out. They have beaten South Florida, LSU in Florida in 3 consecutive midweek games, has Bethune-Cookman. That is just legit.
Good grief, you're right. Kansas. 11 wins in a row.
Yeah. They're teetering on being a host themselves. Sometimes I forget Kansas has a baseball program, to be honest with you. They just have not been particularly noisy in that category. A&M, the number 12 overall seed, with Nebraska and NC State in their regional. Auburn, the number 6 overall, with Miami as their 2. Florida State, the 11 overall, with Tennessee as their 3. Congratulations, Florida State. You get Tennessee as your 3. Georgia, the number 7 overall, opposite Oregon State, the 10, with Oklahoma as their 2. Coastal Carolina, the number 8 overall seed. As we've said before, that's another problem for Southern Miss. It's the Sun Belt's a good baseball league, but generally speaking, it's difficult for the committee to award 2 host sites to the Sun Belt. You call it brand bias if you like. I wouldn't argue with you. But you have to really have a hosting resume to be the second Sun Belt team to host. And if Coastal Carolina keeps cruising and wins the Sun Belt, it makes it even harder for you to get that second regional site. So root against Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss fans. Alabama, the number 9 overall seed, with Wake Forest as their 2. So that is the regional projections from Baseball America. Again, a lot higher on Ole Miss than D1 is, and D1 didn't have any hosts from Mississippi earlier this week. We got this message on the text line. Listen to the D1 podcast today when they were making projections. Had State as the 16 and Ole Miss at 17. Said if Ole Miss didn't get swept by them at home, they would flip-flop. Also said buy stock in Mississippi State once McPherson comes back. Yeah, I'm not selling Mississippi State right now. I know the last 2 weeks have been bad. I mean, they've been bad. There's no other way around it. But you've seen, up until these 2 weeks, elite play. I'm not saying they're going to win the national championship. Every year's created differently, but it's similar to the concept, I think, what you saw from Ole Miss in 2022. Ole Miss was elite until they hit a wall and just kind of, they started losing series. But they were elite up until a point, played poorly, got it back in gear, won the national championship. I think Mississippi State is more likely to play at an elite level, hit this wall, and then get back to playing at an elite level than hitting this wall and then completely falling apart. There's too many elite players and elite traits on this team when McPherson comes back to think that they're just going to keep getting swept every weekend. I just don't see that coming. They're too good. Jeff says, my dogs couldn't sweep with a shop vac. They did Ole Miss in Oxford.
Yeah.
That did happen. Somebody says, big USM fan here. I look for us to not even get to a regional. Bats better come around soon, like tomorrow. Yes, this is a big weekend for sure. But no, they're not missing a regional. They did too many good things. The RPI is too good for them to be completely left out unless the wheels completely fall off and they just scrape on the axles down the road. And I don't foresee that happening. They've hit a bump too, has Southern Miss, but you've seen too much consistent high-level play to take a couple of weeks and declare that the season is over, if that makes sense. I think that you've got a team right now in this state, in Ole Miss, that has found itself and is starting to play better, and they're getting better every week. I think you have a Mississippi State team that has elite traits that has completely hit a wall. And I think you have a Southern Miss team that has really good high-level traits that's also hit a wall. 3 different teams, 3 slightly different circumstances. Problem for Southern Miss is the schedule doesn't help much. You've got to get right back to winning right away, or else it can fall. Mississippi State doesn't necessarily need to do that because of the conference in which they play. It's fun though. I mean, there's a lot to look forward to in the back half of conference play, and there's a lot on the line. All 3 teams can still host as of this point. All 3 teams, I think, are contenders to make the College World Series as of this point. 2 of them got to play better, but that is still in front of all 3 of them right now.
It's a game where the strength of schedule matters.
Yes. And they actually use the formula to use the selection and the rankings, and imagine that. You get a more fair process when you use a formula that you can't argue with. You can't argue with the math. Sports Talk Mississippi. So glad that you guys are with us. Couple of things I want to get to. One, Mississippi State got a football commitment. We'll tell you who it is when we come back. And also, you guys are just watching sports on TV. We'll go through the numbers. And then Tom Cruise isn't going to quit. And I'll tell you what I mean also, all as we continue on in this 4 o'clock hour. Sports Talk Mississippi. Don't go anywhere.
From the Venable
Sports Talk Mississippi is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Come on. Are we going to do this?
Back to Sports Talk Mississippi.
Keep rolling. 3, 2, 1.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Michael Borky, Will East with you, Sports Talk Mississippi. So glad that you guys are here in the Pearl River Resort studio. So somebody says, will future South Carolina head coach Chris Lemonis be in attendance at the state game this weekend? You know, there have been people that have intimated that that is possible, and if I was a South Carolina fan, because South Carolina is in the worst shape as an athletic department in the SEC right now, by far. Not even close.
Really?
They're in the gutter. Conference record in football, men's basketball, and baseball in the last 12 months is the worst. I mean,
Women's basketball, the only thing saving them.
Don Staley's saving them. And even then, they didn't win. So, but anyway, if you go from Paul Maneri, a guy that won a national championship at a better job, who fell off the map after, to hire Chris Lemonis, a guy that won a national championship at a better job and fell off after, then just fold the department. I mean, I could not imagine being a South Carolina fan and ridding myself of the mistake that was Paul Maneri just to hire a younger version of Paul Maneri. And again, 2 good coaches. There was something in there. He did good at Indiana, won a championship at State, but something went wrong at better jobs. It's like when South Carolina hired Muschamp. Muschamp was I mean, he wasn't horrendous at Florida, but Florida's a better job than South Carolina. And you looked at what he did at Florida, and you thought he could come here and win a worse job than the one that he's currently got. That makes no sense at all. So if they do it, more power to them, I guess. John in Pontotoc says, I would love to see State and Southern in the Rebels regional. Well, an SEC team will not be put in an SEC team's regional. That would be funny, but the committee will not do that. But yes, if Southern Miss is a 2 and either Ole Miss or State are hosting, you can go ahead and put Southern Miss in whatever, whichever one. You can guarantee that. You can just guarantee that. No, Lamonis has not been actually named the head coach of South Carolina. He is reportedly in consideration.
And it would make sense.
It would.
He's from, I think he grew up here in Jackson, but he lived there for a while, or grew up there. So I can't remember the exact story, but I mean, a guy with a national championship.
Yeah.
You can't ignore that.
Will says, sadly, being a State fan right now is just as bad as being a South Carolina fan, Borky. And I didn't want to go there, but you did it, Will, not me. There is so much pressure on Jeff Lebby. It's more than just hot seat pressure, because he's on the hot seat. But, man, the institution, the fan base, needs so badly for them to be good on the football field this year. Especially in this era, the losing it's hard enough no matter what. But the way that they've been losing, and it's always recoverable, but another bad season, we're all at a 4-8 or 5-7 again. And I mean, the stadium was already filled with Tennessee fans and Texas fans and Georgia fans and Ole Miss fans last year. Morale would be so poor, it would take a long time to recover from how poor the morale would be.
I think last year, the way they lost some of those games, that Florida game, the Texas
horrible.
game, I mean, it's
horrible.
It's one thing when you get beat down. It's another thing when you have the lead, or you're going to win, and you get out coached basically.
Yeah,
and that's what happened.
Yeah, Lamonis went to the Citadel.
That's right.
Because he played with Dan McDonnell. Right? They were teammates there, weren't they?
Grew up in Myrtle Beach, born in Starkville, but grew up in Myrtle Beach.
But he is a South Carolina guy.
Yeah.
And the thing, too, about State, I was actually talking to a friend earlier today. There has been, and we've talked about it a little bit, but there's been a lot of frustration with the 1878 deal with Mississippi State. Another thing that I have to give money to, what is it actually? Where is the money going to? What is it? There's been a lot of frustration about it. And still some unanswered questions. When Zach Selman was on the show, we appreciate, of course, his time. But Haydad asked him, hey, you've got the Student Athlete Excellence Fund, you've got the Bulldog Initiative, you've got 1878. Where did fans need to direct their money? And he said all three. That is not the answer that his fans wanted to hear. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to make this comparison, but if you're thinking clearly about what I'm saying, you will agree with me. From day one that NIL became a thing, what did Ole Miss fans give money to? The Grove Collective. It was established right away. It was very public, forward-facing right away. They had a leader, direction, and they haven't added anything else. There's nothing else. You give money to the Grove Collective. Do you want to help? Grove Collective. Do you want to buy a shirt? Grove Collective. Whiskey? Grove Collective. It's all through one thing. Mm-hmm. Give money here and you're helping. That messaging helps so much because it's clear. It's obvious. If an Ole Miss fan, hey, I want to help. Grove Collective. If a State fan, hey, I want to help. Well, do you want to help the Student Athlete Excellence Fund? Or do you want to give to the Bulldog Initiative? But wait, I thought the Bulldog Initiative was absorbed into, well, yeah, it was, but then the AD said to give to it still, and then you got this 1878 thing, and what is 1878? Well, it's independent of the school, but also it's paying players, and if you want exclusive interviews, you got to give money here. But you see what I mean? if you're a State fan, who do you give money to? And how are they different? How are they the same? It's very confusing. And when you're asking somebody for money, you shouldn't make it complicated. My dad was in sales that's what he did. He was for a long time, and he told me, like, the key to sales is be brief, be bright, and be gone. What was his thing? Which means don't waste time, have a simple explanation for what you're selling, be smart about it, have a clear and concise, you know what you're talking about, and then, like, when the sale's done, go.
Yeah.
Don't talk anymore. And with State, it has not been brief because, of course, a lot of this is the fault of John Cohen. But it got off to a weird start, and it's confusing, and you keep adding more things. It's like you established a collective, and now you got this new thing. What is this new thing? Why are you doing that? They didn't do the be brief, be bright, and be gone. They took a while to enter the market, thanks John Cohen. And when they entered the market, they keep adding new things to the market. It doesn't make sense. And people are confused. And the buddy I was talking to earlier today, he's frustrated. And he is not unique in his frustration. That's part of the fan apathy too, though.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I think there is a sense around that program with the fans that you better not waste Kamario Taylor.
He's got to win.
I mean, you've got this guy who could be, he's a 5-star recruit. He's got all the tools to be a superstar. And are we just going to waste that time that we have?
Because there's that same conversation about Hubbard. We got another year of Hubbard.
Yeah.
Somebody says the Bulldog Initiative website pretty much no longer directs you to 1878. But here's the thing, though. Selman said to still give to the Bulldog Initiative on this show. That's confusing. Will says, please keep calling them out. We're so tired of this level of losing. And the losing is a byproduct of a lot of things. I mean, Mike Leach passed away unexpectedly. That set off in motion discombobulation within a program by no fault of anybody's. It's not like incompetency is why that happened. It was an untimely passing of the head coach, and because of timing, you go with Arnett, and he wasn't ready, and that started the snowball of...
And a coach who ran a unique system, too.
Yeah. You build a roster to run that offense, and you have a quarterback to run that offense. So that's part of it, too. But somebody says, won't make it, don't understand the fact of how fans want player engagement. How can you still feel that way in a transfer portal era when your own team cannot keep players? But that's what they're trying to do. That is the point of that platform, is to connect you to the players that are new, that you don't have years of seeing. So, it's sound and logic. It makes sense. It's a good idea. I think in hindsight, they should have put all of this under one umbrella. The Bulldog Initiative should have been everything. And instead, it's this. It's tough. The idea is good. The messaging and the structure is confusing people. And people are still confused to this day. You got to figure that out. Sports Talk Mississippi. We'll be back.
From Talk.fm, Mississippi.
Check this out. Are you ready? Yeah!
Sports Talk Mississippi.
Michael Borky and Will East with you. Crazy story here from ESPN. A former Alabama football player faces charges of wire fraud and identity theft after he allegedly used wigs and fake driver's licenses to impersonate NFL players to secure nearly $20 million in loans. Luther Davis is the alleged. I don't really remember that name, but again, former Alabama player. pretended to be 3 different NFL players from May 23 until October 24 to secure loans from multiple lending agencies. He apparently pretended to be Michael Penix, the quarterback for the Falcons, former Browns tight end David Njoku, and Green Bay Packers safety Xavier McKinney, according to the document.
Now, you said he used fake wigs. Used wigs, right?
Yes.
All right. Have you seen 2 of the 3 people on this list?
Do they not have hair?
Oh, no, they got hair. But you remember the Quinshon Judkins long hair, half of it blonde, half of it dark? 2 of the people on this list, there's 3 people that he impersonated, 2 of them have that haircut. Look at Xavier McKinney. Half of his hair is blonde. It's all long. Half of it's blonde, half of it's dark.
I guess that's what the wigs are for. How do you secure one of those things anyway?
I'm surprised Quinshon Judkins isn't on this list because there's only like 3 guys in the NFL that have this hairdo, and he's the 3rd one.
Plea hearings are scheduled for later this month, and he's got a couple of partners in the alleged scheme. He's going to plead guilty to it, actually. But they used the identities of 3 NFL players to apply for loans. The Guardian, which first reported the story, identified all 3 players. To convince lenders they were the players, the court documents allege that they created fabricated personal financial statements, Secretary of State documents, and bank statements for companies purportedly operated by the players. Let's see. Davis would show up, quote, dressed in disguise and impersonated the players at the loan closings, including using fake driver's license to fool the lenders, the notary publics, and federal prosecutor stated. Davis allegedly wore makeup and a wig to impersonate Njoku during a recorded video conference to close a loan for $4 million on January 22nd of 2024 with lender is at Aliyah Sports Finance and underwriter Sure Sports. If you are a sports-named loan company and you can get duped by a wig and some makeup when you're giving out $4 million in loans, I'm not sure that you should... it would make more sense if it was a regular bank that just kind of believed that this guy was the guy. But you're talking sports people that are giving out fake loans to fake players. Jeez. $20 million is what he ended up getting in fake loans. Goodness gracious. Sports Talk Mississippi. Mississippi State got a commitment earlier today. Christian Alexander from Tunica, the 4-star running back. Top 10 player, depending on your service, in the state of Mississippi as well. We talked yesterday about players in this state. The high school recruiting still matters because they are more likely, I think, generally speaking, to stay despite not starting right away. And now Jeff Lebby's got a nice little run of running backs. You have Fluff. You won a recruiting battle to get him out of the portal. Then you get J.J. Hill. And now this guy, that's a nice little run of running backs there for Jeff Lebby. He is a 4-star, and that's just a good pickup. You got to win in state battles like that. His finalists were apparently Cincinnati, UCF, and Colorado. Chose Mississippi State over the 3. But when you've got an in-state quality running back, you can't let him go out of state.
Yeah. Rosafort's produced a couple NFL players over the past 10 or 15 years. And I know that I remember from this last season, they had a pretty high-powered offense. In fact, I think that was the most points they'd ever scored in a season in their history last year. So good for them.
Good for them. And we talked about momentum a second ago. The only way that you can fix things is wins. That's the only way, is winning games on the field. But getting prospects like this in your recruiting class can help build a little something before the season begins. So hopefully that will stick for Mississippi State. Somebody says he should get to keep the money, by the way, since the lenders were that dumb. Come on, man, $4 million. I mean, imagine how difficult it is to get a $4 million loan when you're presenting a legitimate business.
I wonder if he just had these wigs that had half blonde, half dark hair and just said, oh.
And they just bought it?
Yeah, and they just bought it. They just looked at the guy's hair. They looked at They probably Googled these guys and went, oh, they just looked at the hair. Like I said, I'm surprised Quinshon's not on this list because he's of the entire NFL, all the NFL players. There's 3 NFL players that have this hairstyle, and he impersonated 2 of them.
Somebody said earlier, I'm so sick of the Mike Leach excuse. People build programs in 1 year now, and that is.
But I would say that's rare, though, for you to build a program like that in a year.
That's what makes year 3 no excuses, though.
Yeah.
This is a no excuses year. You don't have to compete for the playoff, but you have got to be markedly better. You have got to win more games than you lose. You have to be competitive in the SEC, and if you're not, somebody else needs to be afforded the opportunity to do so. In this era, there is no excuse to not have a winning record by year 3. None.
And they were close. I mean,
They should have had one last year.
The Florida game, the Texas game, are the 2.
Tennessee should have beaten Tennessee that day too.
Tennessee, yeah, that went to overtime. Yeah. Haydad keeps saying that they're going to have these former head coaches in his ear to kind of help him. I think he gets so caught up in the moment. I know. That Florida game, that last play where Shapen threw that interception, I mean, why is he throwing the ball there? And then that collapse against Texas was just they were snapping the ball with 20 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, and that was the worst part about it is the game management aspect of it. I mean, obviously you can scheme.
I understand you've got to run your offense, but why are you snapping the ball with 20 seconds left on the clock when you've got the lead in the fourth quarter?
I mean, that punt that got returned for a touchdown, I mean, the only way you lose that game really is if he fields the punt and takes it back for a touchdown, and he did that, punted out of bounds. Things like that.
Yeah.
Just little stuff throughout these games that could be managed better. And it's easy for us to say, of course, but it's part of our job, and it's also why he makes millions of dollars a year to get scrutinized like that. That was self-inflicted coaching errors cost them games last season. And luckily, you can grow from that. It'd be different if you looked at that team and thought, he did everything he could. He maximized that roster, got everything out of them, and there's just not enough talent that he can get, and they can't afford it, and they are, for lack of a better phrase, they're screwed.
That was not the case.
That was not the case last year. They coulda, shoulda, woulda, of course, but should have won at least 7 games. Should have. And so it shows how close you are, but if you keep coaching yourself out of these games, it's the SEC, man. Everybody's got talent, and there are going to be close games every week. Another thing, why are the players not speaking up? I understand knowing your place, but every one of these kids play Madden. They know how to manage the clock, especially a 2-minute wait. A 2-minute wait game keeping a lead. It's crazy to me that no kid is even like, bro, why are we snapping so early, coach? We need to settle down. Here's the thing. You are so focused on doing your job within the moment of a game that you have... I mean, you spend all offseason, control what you can control. And there's so much going on. It's hard for a player to do their assignment and also critique coaching. And frankly, I mean, you've been in a locker room. Calling out a coach is probably not a smart thing to do either. Unless you're doing your job absolutely perfectly. That's got to be assistants and stuff like that have got to step in and say, hey, Jeff, slow him down, dial it back.
And that's what they thought last year, that they would have coaches in his ear saying, hey, don't do that or do this instead, and that didn't happen, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Somebody says Levy will prove this year whether he belongs. State is on standby for a great coach. Who doesn't want to coach in the SEC? Lincoln Riley. He doesn't. He didn't want to coach in the SEC. He ran from the SEC, and then USC joins the Big Ten. I don't know if this is true or not, so couch this as a rumor. I know people take rumors and just kind of believe that it's exactly what happened. I don't know if this is true or not. The next time we get to visit with Keith Carter, he would deny it regardless. But I did hear that there was some interest expressed from Lincoln Riley about the potential of Ole Miss coming open. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. But did hear that. That there was some kind of something there.
I don't know.
601-879-4395. We will be right back. I got to tell you about this Tom Cruise thing. He's still at it, and I don't know if this is a good idea involving Top Gun. We'll tell you about it when we come back.
From the Venable Glass.
Let the broadcasting of the disturbed continue.
Sports Talk Mississippi. Super Talk Mississippi.
Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, I got to have a conversation earlier today with our draft expert, Rob Paul. And it's the full hour, and we talk all things draft. We talk about Jackson Dart's year one and what the Giants need to do, and Harbaugh. We talk about Dak and the Cowboys and their needs, and Fernando Mendoza, what kind of prospect he's going to be, and of course we hammered down the Mississippi players as well. I will say, the first segment ends abruptly. We ran into a bit of a technical, so it'll just end. But the rest of the conversation is solid and really good, and the first segment's good as well. But if the conversation just ends in the first segment of the 5 o'clock hour, don't be alarmed. Nothing went wrong with your radio. But it's good stuff with Rob, and always thankful that he joins us on the Farm Bureau Guest Line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team. Top Gun is a classic. I named my late dog after Maverick. Top Gun 2 was a smashing success. Top Gun Maverick, I guess, is what it was actually called in 2022. You had Iceman pass away, and Goose's son comes up, and Maverick leads this incredible mission, and he flies it even though he's ancient, and it hit. They played all the hits. They did the dogfight football thing on the beach, Great Balls of Fire, all the nostalgia, all of that, and it was a hit. They apparently loved the money they made on Top Gun Maverick so much that Top Gun 3 is on its way. Paramount announced it today during something called CinemaCon. I don't know what that is, but it's in Las Vegas. And the producer of the movie, Jerry Bruckheimer, was there to announce it and put a teaser out there. $1.5 billion at the box office for Top Gun Maverick on a budget of $170 million.
Which is actually kind of a small budget nowadays.
No kidding. Well, they didn't have to CGI anything. They actually did their own stuff. But I'm afraid. You did everything that you needed to do with the second one. I don't know if you can recapture the nostalgia magic a second time.
I'm going to tell you, Michael, that movie came out in 2022, and we're not big movie people. We don't go to the movies very often, my wife and I, but we went to go see that one. I came out feeling so pro-America. I mean, I'm chanting USA.
Oh, yeah.
When I walked out of that movie theater. It was just the movie was fun. There was no filler. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It was awesome.
They did such a good job.
They did an incredible. The story was simple. It wasn't overcomplicated.
No.
You know, it was Tom Cruise.
Here's the mission.
Save us.
We're going to fly the mission. It's extremely hard. And all of the dogfighting scenes are filmed in real cockpits of real fighter jets. I mean, you could feel it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was great. You're right, though.
I'm
that
concerned.
will be hard to recapture because there was so much buildup because the previous movie came out in 1986.
Yeah.
And you had the whole Val Kilmer thing, who would, with his throat cancer, I believe it was.
Yeah, he couldn't
that
talk
robbed
in
him
the
of
movie.
his voice. Yeah. You had all that. You were all up in the feels.
I'll go see it. I'll go see it. I will. I'm just concerned that you can't capture me the way that you did in Top Gun Maverick. But I'm with you though. That was a weird time too. We were coming out of COVID, and everybody just kind of hated everything.
That was probably the first movie that I had gone to the theaters to see since COVID. So it'd been, because movie theaters
shut down,
and then you had all the streaming stuff, so it's not as common to go to the theaters anymore, or at least it's not in my world. And so we went specifically because, everybody said you have to, and we went weeks after it came out, because you remember that movie came out and it just continued to be number one week after week after week. And I finally told my wife, I was like, we got to go find out what everybody's talking about.
Yeah. Movies like that have to be consumed in the theater too. And you had that message from Cruise before the movie started. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was interesting too.
And on the political realm, you had the whole Taiwan thing, which stirred up a whole lot of dust. He had a Taiwan flag on his coat in the original film, and somebody had digitally removed it
for the Chinese release.
So for the Chinese release, and Tom Cruise was like, "No, put it back on. Put that back on. I want that flag on there." And that kind of got people fired up a little bit. So it's going to be difficult.
Somebody says tons of plot holes in Top Gun Maverick. Don't overthink Top Gun.
No.
Don't
I'm not
overthink
saying
it.
It's realistic,
brother.
brother.
Don't overthink it.
I mean, how does he afford the house that he's in?
Yeah, don't overthink it.
How does the lady who runs the bar, how does she keep all those tabs of all those? I don't understand. How does she have a sailboat? I don't know.
Yeah.
She just does, man.
All right, coming up after the news, you have your college football fix driven by Ford and your local Mississippi Ford dealer. That'll be my conversation with our draft guy, Rob Paul, talking all things draft. Loves Brennan Thompson, loves DeJon Stribling. There's a lot there, so hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. That's coming up next. Sports Talk Mississippi, Pearl River Resort Studio.
Sports Talk Mississippi. Here's more. Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back in Sports Talk Mississippi. Michael Borky with you. This is going to serve as your college football fix driven by Ford and your local Mississippi Ford dealer. I think this is year 4 of our draft preview with Bobby Football, Rob Paul of Sportsbook Review. And you should follow him at Rob__Paul on Twitter. He's got draft videos all year long, analysis, players that you should watch for, especially for you Southern Miss fans listening. He is not just an SEC guy. He doesn't just follow the Big Ten. If there is a player that is a quality player, Rob is studying him. And we appreciate your time. I do think this is year 4, though, which is crazy to think about.
I think you're right. And this, I guess we've gone through Jackson Dart discourse. We've gone through, I guess we haven't been together long enough for Matt Corral, though.
It was right at the end of Matt Corral. So you did a spot with somebody else, and I heard it. And if I remember correctly, you kind of got that one exactly right.
Yeah, but I think I was a little too low on Dart last year, and I regret it now.
Yeah, so what do you think about that? Let's start there before we get into the draft. Jackson Dart's year 1 with the Giants. Did a lot of really nice things. It wasn't a particularly good team, as you know, but what did you think about the way he played?
Well, especially given the fact he had to live through the Dable era ending, and it didn't really seem to throw him off much, and now he gets more of an adult in the room, I would say, with Harbaugh taking over. And he lost Malik Neighbors early in the season and still puts together this and Scatterbo. Like, they were just going through it. And I think he outplayed even the people who were highest on Dart. I would say he had to have outplayed what even they expected, given the circumstances of everything in New York. I'm excited to see what it looks like this year with Neighbors healthy. Maybe they draft Carnell Tate at 5, who knows? So I'm excited. I love when young quarterbacks are actually exciting and enjoyable to watch, and it makes the whole product better.
He still has to figure out how to protect his body. That's the one thing that he didn't do well. He did so many great things in college. He took unnecessary hits in college, and he still did that as a rookie. And you mentioned Harbaugh. You hope Harbaugh can coach that out of him. It's okay to slide sometimes.
I mean, just look at Lamar. Lamar is great at avoiding contact and just stepping out of bounds a half second early. Hopefully they don't need to run dart nearly as much this year either.
And so, last thing on that, just while we're on this subject, what do you think about what is Harbaugh going to do for him? If you had to project that out, what would you think that end result is for the two of them?
I think that it just brings one stability. Harbaugh's going, even if things don't go well off the bat, you have to imagine Harbaugh has a fairly long leash, even if Joe Schoen, the GM, doesn't. And I think the other thing too is Harbaugh's known for stability in terms of offensive line, in terms of the defense. So it's just getting those things right around Dart, which just maybe it's not wide receiver play, but it's the things that will, again, one, keep him healthy, and two, give him the support he needs to succeed in the NFL.
Hey, we'll just go from one Mississippi quarterback to the next. Dak Prescott in Dallas, obviously. What do you think about what the Cowboys need to address in this draft to get him where so many people think that he can go with the right pieces around him? What do you think they need?
I think, honestly, for the Cowboys, especially looking at it with the 2 first-round picks, their offense on paper, and even last year, it was a quality offense. Their defense was just dreadful at times. And, trading Micah Parsons got them off to a rough start, and then trading for Quinnen Williams helped them to some degree, but they need to, they have holes all over their front seven and on the back end. But they have the 2 first-round picks. And this draft is not the sexiest in terms of quarterbacks, in terms of running backs, but there are several high-quality corners who could step in and start for Dallas, I think, day one. The other thing, too, is a big rumor is they could trade those 2 first-round picks to move up for a tone-setting linebacker like Sonny Styles, who, although positional value-wise, that's probably not the smartest thing to do. But again, this draft class isn't very good, and what Dallas needs is to just come out of it with premier defensive play. And because I think on paper, that offense, outside of maybe Terrence Steele at right tackle, is playoff quality at least, maybe NFC championship quality.
So good enough. So all the weapons, everything, all that for Dak figured out, but you think they need to address the other side of the ball. And especially with the trade up, I've seen a lot of that, with that extra pick. Can they move up and get the right guy? The Saints will never do this. When I see that, it's oh man, I would love for the Saints to finally trade back and get some assets, but moving up to 8's probably not, economical for Dallas either. They got to go higher.
Yeah, I think Cleveland seems to be the popular sweet spot. Cleveland likes to trade back. Andrew Berry is an analytically driven GM, so acquiring excess capital for that 6th pick, again, in a draft class that's pretty weak overall. I could see Cleveland at 6 being the trade partner for sure.
And we were talking about this some yesterday. You mentioned it a little bit. We're a week away from the draft, and it feels like there's not a whole lot of crazy attention. There's not major, massive storylines that get the whole league's attention. You already know who's going number 1. Do you feel that? And why do you think that is?
Yeah, I would say it's a more boring class. And I think obviously the quarterback thing, Mendoza's going 1. We all know that. Quarterbacks drive the conversation. I think some people at ESPN tried to prop up Ty Simpson maybe to make it seem more interesting, but I don't think a second quarterback should go in the first round. Maybe a team like Arizona decides to trade up for Ty Simpson. So I think the weak quarterback class takes away some of that excitement. On top of the running back class, this is one of the Jeremiah Love is a superstar in the making, but after him it's pretty barren. So there's another fantasy football position people are kind of usually interested in, and we don't really have that. The wide receiver class lacks that truly elite, like kind of Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors type of guy.
Next year's will have that.
Well, exactly. Like next year's draft, and we always say this, next year's draft's always better than this year's draft, but it feels pretty true looking ahead. And so I think those positions that fans attach themselves to, I think this draft lacks it. And I think overall too, like you look at it, the Jets it seems like are going to take Arvell Reese or David Bailey number 2. Which I guess that's an interesting conversation, but at the same time, that's a debate between a guy in Reese who was a 1-year starter at Ohio State, and I'm a big fan of Reese, but 1-year starter at Ohio State who played this joker hybrid role, and we're projecting him to be a true edge rusher, and he gets the Micah Parsons comparisons because obviously Parsons wasn't a true edge rusher at Penn State, but that's like a fairly big projection to make. And then with Bailey, it's a guy who, well, he wasn't a starter at Stanford. He transferred to Texas Tech, got all that money, and obviously was one of the most disruptive players in college football. But there's still questions about, like, well, he was a 5-star recruit who wasn't starting at Stanford post David Shaw. And I just think there's a lot of prospects in this class that are in the top 10 conversation that have like the second or third thing you say about them is a question. Like, take Ruben Bain, for example. He has historically short arms. He was insanely disruptive in Miami's run to the championship game, but his arms are shorter than mine. That's not something that GMs love. And I mean, we also had some off-field news about him earlier this week too, which isn't going to help him. It might not hurt him too much, but I don't think it's certainly not helping him. And so I just think there's so many questions around all the top prospects in this class, on top of the positions that usually drive the conversation around the draft are really lacking this year.
The short arms thing, is there somebody that you can think of that was like super high level in college and had short arms and it just didn't translate?
Well, I think the problem is, like, his arms are they're I think they're 30 and 7/8 inches. Like it's under 31, which is insane because normally under 33 is a problem. He's in the first percentile for arm length. And off the top of my head, like, I don't think we've had a guy who's so short-armed as well as being so disruptive at the college level that they're a legit NFL prospect. I think we've had really disruptive, undersized defensive linemen in college football who were never really viewed as true, like, top 10 level prospects. And Bain's been like a flashy player since his true freshman year at Miami too. So it's like we have this huge resume of success and just one massive glaring thing that, sure, it, like, arm length can be a silly conversation topic at times, but I mean, we just when it's a guy who's such a historical outlier that we don't have really anything, like, off the top of my head, a player I can think of that had really short arms that had a solid NFL career was Marcus Golden. Well, you're not drafting Marcus Golden in the top 10.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center with 2 locations serving you in Richland and in Brandon. For your glass needs, call 601-605-4443. For the most part, looking pretty good. Minor delays 20 eastbound at Gallatin. Elsewhere, things are flowing pretty smooth at the moment. Buckle up, drive safe. Trust your heavy haul transportation needs to Southeastern Services. With years of experience hauling and operating heavy equipment, you can trust their team to handle your job with confidence. Southeastern Services, where trust meets the road.
All Britain's Jewelers.
When words alone are not enough, give the gift that shows how much you really care. A diamond from All Britons. At All Britons, every diamond is inspected by our gemologist for its color, cut, and clarity. So regardless if you choose a round, oval, or cushion-cut stone, you will always get the best diamond value at All Britons. Engagements, anniversaries, or just because. Mississippi's foremost diamond merchant since 1920 is All Britons, your diamond store.
All Britain's Jewelers.
If you're feeling anxious about your investments with all the economic volatility and chaos in Washington, tune in to SuperTalk Jackson on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 a.m. and Sundays from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. for Element Wealth Radio with Jeremy Nelson. Learn more at myelementwealth.com.
If you're about to start a project or remodel with wood, you need to think Miller Lumber in Richland. Since 1953, we've built a solid reputation of supplying quality wood at a lower price, like Western Red Cedar and Cypress Lumber, as well as a wide variety of patterns in pine, cedar, and cypress. Shop Miller Lumber for the best price new pine flooring and treated lumber in town. Miller Lumber, 551 Old Highway 49 South in Richland. Visit MillerLumberSales.com, 601-936-7099.
Fourth and Goal Sports Cafe serves up Jackson's fresh-to-order plate lunches Tuesday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Veggie plates with 4 sides: okra, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, lima beans, green beans, white rice, cabbage, side salad, and more. 5100 I-55 North Frontage Road in Jackson.
Why trust Coleman Taylor Transmissions to repair your transmission?
We want the customer to feel comfortable when this process is done, whether they need a transmission repair or not. They have full control of the situation, so they can take their vehicle somewhere else. They can have us fix it, but they can drive their vehicle away if it's drivable. We're trying to just have an honest assessment of their car and them be able to make a decision without feeling locked into anything.
Call Coleman Taylor Transmissions today at 601-355-8526 or go to ColemanTaylorJacksonMS.com.
Meet the ladies of the Atala County Garden Club. When this group of trailer trash, home wreckers, and mischief makers decide to take on a new member, strange things begin to abound. Where practical magic meets steel magnolias in the hilarious new comedy. Don't miss the world premiere of the Atala County Garden Club by Mississippi's own Topher Payne. April 7th through the 19th at New Stage Theater. For tickets, 601-948-3533 or newstagetheater.com.
Where Mississippi comes to talk. Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Weekdays here on Super Talk Mississippi. Sports Talk Mississippi.
You ready, guys?
On Super Talk Mississippi.
All right, we're back with some draft talk with Rob Paul. So we talked a little bit national. One more question before we start hammering down the local guys. Mendoza himself. Obviously going number 1 overall, that's no secret. The Raiders are still going to take all 8 minutes, so ESPN can talk about him for the full 8 minutes. What do you think he's actually going to be as an NFL quarterback, though? Not like, should he go number 1, should he not? Because we all know that he's going number 1. But once that does happen, what will he be at the next level, in your opinion?
I think first removing kind of the Raiders infrastructure from the conversation and looking at him purely as a prospect. Like, I don't think he has the physical tools to be that top 5 quarterback in the NFL, but I do think he's a top 10, top 12 is kind of the ceiling with him, which is, I mean, the Raiders are taking that every single day of the week, right? The last quarterback they took number 1 was Jamarcus Russell. So if Mendoza turns into the 12th best quarterback in the NFL, I think that's a win for them. I think kind of if you were to pick some things that kind of stop him from reaching that maybe that top 5 level, it's the ability kind of out of structure when the play breaks down. Like, he's not going to extend plays the same way as a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow may. I think he has enough athleticism to navigate well through the pocket. Like, he moves well. He's a big guy. He's 6'5", 236. He's built like Carson Palmer, and he has enough arm to make every NFL level throw. But I do think, like, athletically, with the way the NFL has changed over the last 2 decades, his ceiling is kind of capped at that 8 to 12 range. But then when you think about it within the Raiders organization, I think the hire of Clint Kubiak as head coach is great for Mendoza. I think they brought in Kirk Cousins, so not to say that's a long-term solution or even a 4-week solution, but theoretically there's no pressure to play Mendoza immediately if you have a veteran like Cousins in the room. The problem is the offensive line is awful. The wide receiver room is awful. So it's kind of like with Cam Ward in Tennessee as a rookie. You saw flashes of what he can do and what that arm is, but also there's just so little around Cam Ward that it's hard to project, will he really even hit 75% of his ceiling while playing for a franchise like the Titans? And I think it's the same thing with Mendoza. Now, we saw what Mendoza did helping to elevate Indiana, and obviously that's the most improbable championship in college football history. No one would have ever thought the Hoosiers would win a football national championship. So I think at the end of the day, I think he's going to struggle a lot as a rookie, and I'm hopeful that they kind of really focus on building that offensive line. He's got Ashton Jeanty, who didn't do a ton as a rookie because of that offensive line, but like Mendoza has all the boxes checked for what you look for in the number one pick.
I know this is for next year's draft, but I know you've watched him a ton. I want to ask you about Trinidad Chambliss. Actually, when he was going through the fight against the NCAA, some of the commentators were saying, why would he do this? He's a first-round pick. Why would he do this? And I said at the time, from every feedback that he got from the NFL, it was, if you can, stay in school. That was the advice that he got from the league. What kind of prospect do you think that he is and he can be this season going into next year's draft?
So it's funny because like we were talking about, this quarterback class as a whole is so weak. We're looking at Garrett Nussmeier as consensus QB3, and I don't know if you could find a quarterback who was more disappointing overall last season than Nussmeier and that LSU team. So I think had Chambliss come out and not been granted that additional year at Ole Miss, he probably would have been consensus top 100 pick. Now, at first round, I don't think is what he would have been, but his trajectory was like the arrow was pointed as upright as it could be, and
by process of elimination, especially, yeah,
right. And it seems like, and now I you know more about this than me, but he seems like he's got all the right makeup. Going from D2 to the SEC, and didn't seem like it was a problem that he started the season backing up Austin Simmons, and when he took over, it was his job, and he just continued to get better. And I think he's the type of guy who would have gone to the Senior Bowl and probably would have stood out at the Senior Bowl and probably would have won MVP of the Senior Bowl. And next thing you know, he's going in the second round. But even though this 2027 QB class is going to be better because 2026 is so bad, and like Chambliss might have been QB2 or QB3 in this class, maybe he's QB5 next year. But if he continues to build on what he was doing into the college football playoff last year, like just even removing the athleticism, like the escapability factor with him, like his ball placement at the intermediate and deep level was jumping off the tape. And you look at like the anticipation continue to get better, and it didn't seem like it was hard for him to go from D2 to the SEC, which just blows my mind. So I think going into 2027, I think you'll probably see his name pop up as a top 50 potential pick. And I'm super excited to see what this looks like, because the SEC is loaded with quarterbacks for next year.
Yeah. And during that tape you were watching, I assume you saw a lot of Dejon Stribling. You're the draft expert. I'm not. You have to help me with something, though. He's got the size. He had great speed at the combine. He's been super productive in college. What am I missing? Why is he not a guy that is getting – I haven't seen a mock draft with him in the second yet, let alone anything close to the first. But it looks like, to me, he's got everything that you want in an NFL wide receiver.
Yeah, I think he's going to be, and again, this receiver class doesn't have that elite guy like a Jamar Chase, but it is deep, as every wide receiver class seems to be. And I think part of why you're not seeing more about him is because people talk about so many different receivers in this class. But I think if you were to pick a guy who'd be a surprise top 50 pick among these receivers, I think he is a strong option. He has incredible ball skills. Like you said, I think he ran a 4.36 at the combine. You see the contested catch ability. He's 6'2", but he plays bigger than that. he creates a ton after the catch. He has so many splashy plays on tape. I guess he's going to be 24 as a rookie if you're looking for something to poke a hole in. But in terms of pro-ready, high-floor guy, I think he's right up there. Like, there's so many receivers in this class, but take a guy like Elijah Surratt from Indiana, for example. That's a guy who's, I think, gotten a lot of pop because of the Indiana run, but I would take Stribling over him. I think there's way more upside with a guy like Stribling. And so I think if he got out of the top 70, I would be shocked. And if he went top 50, I don't think it would be the biggest surprise.
And then his counterpart at Ole Miss, the Penn State transfer, Trey Wallace, who also had a really productive year, especially in the college football playoff. He was part of that group of weapons for Drew Aller that everybody hated at Penn State. Aller didn't have the bodies around him, and then he goes to Ole Miss and produces. What do you see from him, and where do you think he'll end up?
I think he's probably a late day 3, 6, 7th round guy. I know he had some big hype after that his final season at Penn State. I think kind of the problem there is he ran like mid 4.5s.
He slipped out of the block on one of his runs, and
So and he's a little undersized, but he's a guy who, if he can hack it on special teams, that will be a big plus for him. Again, now the problem is like drafting late day 3 receivers who are smaller and maybe not the most explosive, harder to project them as like gunners on special teams, for example. But he does have punt return upside. I think you again go back to Penn State when he was kind of more of the go-to guy. At times for inaccurate Drew Aller, but I think I just have trouble taking receivers who are way under 195 who run in the 4.5s, and at the same time, like, he's going to get drafted. He just a little inconsistent on tape, and the route running maybe not as great as you want. And I know his hands are quite small, which I think is going to worry some about potential drops in the NFL.
Hand size makes sense with the receivers, less so maybe than arm length for defensive linemen, I suppose. We'll be right back with Rob. He joins us in the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. Still got to talk about Brennan Thompson, and he absolutely flew at the Combine, and a handful of other Ole Miss players that are in line to get drafted as well. So we will do that when we come back. Stick with us. Draft Talk Day on Sports Talk Mississippi, 1 week away from the NFL Draft. We'll be back.
From the sea.
What do they want? Exciting news.
Brace yourself.
More Sports Talk Mississippi. Now.
All right, we're back with Rob Paul of Sportsbook Review, our draft expert here on Sports Talk Mississippi. So we left off talking about Dejon Stribling and Trey Wallace. Let's flip to Starkville, but keep the position the same. Brennan Thompson in line to be Mississippi State's first drafted receiver in quite some time. I know you've watched a lot of tape, and there are so many times where that young man got open and the ball never got to him. And how you can overthrow that guy is always mind-blowing. What do you see from Brennan Thompson? Where do you think he may end up? And we overhype possibly combine numbers, but how much improvement do you think he made from his stock or for his stock at the combine?
Well, I think it was more of a box being checked at the combine, because on tape, there's not a receiver who was faster. Like, again, he was getting overthrown at times, but there were other times where he was making inaccurate passes look accurate because he has just this extra gear when the ball is in the air. Like, a corner might be glued to his hip, and then that ball's in the air, and he creates 2 yards of separation somehow. He's going to go top 100. I'm interested to see how much his speed will be valued when considering he is 164 pounds. But we've seen it, like we saw Xavier Worthy go in the first round, 2 years ago? Hollywood Brown back in the day. Like, the NFL is willing to overlook being sub 175 at receiver if you're the fastest guy in the field. And if you got him, let's say, third round to a team with a quarterback who can push the ball downfield and is proven, like, imagine him in Buffalo where they just traded for DJ Moore. So DJ Moore is going to be your number one, but you get a guy with Brendan Thompson's speed, Josh Allen's arm, or in Kansas City when Mahomes is back from his torn ACL. So I think Thompson is maybe the most interesting of the day two receivers, just because some teams really value speed and some teams really value size. So some teams, he might not even be a top 100 player for them, where others might view him as a top 50 player. So could he, it's kind of like Stribling, but in a different way, where Stribling is so solid at everything that I think he could go top 50, whereas Thompson is such an X factor trait that no one else in this draft class has, that if he went top 50, yeah, it would be surprising, but you could justify it if it was to the right team, I think.
Maybe I keep thinking as a Saints fan, I mean, they traded away Shaheed, and he was that kind of undersized, now bigger than Thompson, but that undersized burner, though. And they played well after they traded him, but they missed that on last year's team. I think that marriage makes sense.
Especially Tyler Shuck has a big arm. If you get a guy with Thompson's speed and Kellen Moore's system, like, that's clearing it. Like, even when you have speed like that threatens deep, it clears things out underneath too, right? So that makes things easier on Chris Olave, makes things easier on just Tyler Shuck to get to his first read underneath if the secondary is so focused on stopping that big deep play. So I mean, if the Saints could get Tyler Shuck, or get Tyler Shuck a receiver with Brendan Thompson and that speed on day two, I think that will be a really fun fit.
Speaking of pass catchers, the big tight end from Ole Miss, Daquan Wright, who was brought in to be a backup to Caden Priestcorn, ended up taking his job and then becoming a quality tight end in that system a year ago. Where do you see him ending up?
So again, with this, similar to this receiver class, the tight end class is really deep. It might be the deepest position in the draft, and I think we'll have a crazy run on tight ends on day three, and I think Daquan Wright's going to be in that run. He's a guy who he's kind of not your classic inline wide tight end. He's more of that H-back move around type of tight end, that F tight end. And you see on tape, like, he's listed at 246, but he has some like bowling ball to him after the catch. To me, he looks shorter and stockier than he's listed. And I think getting him on day three is kind of like your third tight end, a guy who can play special teams, a guy who you can develop to potentially be your second tight end as that move piece, like a low end, let's say a low end Isaiah Likely type. I think Daquan Wright's a really fun player.
Two tackles from Ole Miss. One got a combine invite, one did not, although I guess he had a good all-star game despite not having the combine invite, with Pounds and Williams. Was it one sack given up combined or two sacks given up combined last season by the two tackles? What do you see with them? Neither one of them getting really early round buzz, but are they both going to get selected? What do you see?
I think Pounds could slip into the back end of the third round, just because there aren't many guys built like that, 6'6", 325, with light feet like that. He moves. When I go to watch a guy, I get their sizes down first into my notes. And when I see 6'6", 325 on paper, I'm assuming he's going to be a little bit plodding, a little bit, this guy could be a kick inside to guard type. And I could not believe how good his feet were for a guy of that size and how well he performed in pass protection. Like you said, in terms of sacks given up. So it's not this tackle class isn't the most top heavy, but there's a lot of depth, and I think he's a guy who will probably go top 125, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him slip in the third round. But I'm super glad you brought up Jaden Williams, because at the Shrine Bowl, I thought he was the best performing offensive lineman. Another guy who I could not believe how good he looked in pass protection. He's a little bit shorter. His arms just check the threshold. I think they're just over 33, but I think he started a full season at left tackle at Ole Miss, I think, a couple of years ago, and then obviously was the starting right tackle this year. So that tackle left-right side versatility is huge. I think he's a guy who could go, especially because of how good he looked at the Shrine Bowl. I think he's a guy who could get into the back end of that 6th, 7th round area. Otherwise priority free agent. It's hard to gauge what the NFL thinks of a guy when they're not invited to the combine, especially when it's a guy who I would have assumed would have been invited. So not sure what the NFL thinks of him, but I was definitely would have called him one of the biggest winners of the Shrine Bowl.
And especially, as you know, teams weigh stuff like this differently, but during all of the chaos that was the end of last season for Ole Miss with coach leaving and stuff, apparently Williams was one of those guys that kept a team together, that he was very like just a true veteran presence, a calming presence in the locker room. So if that matters, that should help him, because he was, every time you would talk to somebody, it was Jaden Williams just steady through all this. And so we'll see. Xavier Harris is a guy that you're the expert again, but from my vantage point, there are flashes of true dominance and true elite ability. And then mixed in there is some periods of disappearing. Is that what you see?
Yeah, and he's an interesting guy too, because I think coming into the year, there was a lot of hype. When you see a guy who's 6'7", 330 at defensive tackle, I think in the SEC being productive, I think naturally there's a lot of hype there. I think it was overall kind of a disappointing year in terms of him as a prospect. At the same time, I can't quit him. I mean, the flashes are very bright. You don't find size like that very easily. And hell, maybe he's just in the rotation. The man blocks field goals and PATs pretty consistently, and I'll take that as a bonus in my third or fourth defensive tackle. I think he'll end up probably going late day 3, just because the inconsistencies in terms of production, and when you're that tall playing on the interior and you're naturally going to struggle with leverage. And he does. I think that does scare teams off. And I mean, even the Florida defensive tackle, Caleb Banks, one of the top defensive tackles in this class, like that's kind of the big thing with him and why he went from being a first round prospect to probably more of a late second round guy.
All right. I got 40 seconds left. Is there anybody else that we haven't mentioned that you think may slip into the draft?
What if I just talk about Kewan Lacey and Deuce Alexander?
I mean, Kewan's going first round next year, right?
Man, the running back class is going to be really good. I have a hard time thinking he won't be top 50. The NFL's weird with running backs, but I also think had Deuce Alexander declared, I think we would have been talking about him as a potential top 100 pick. He's going to have a lot of hype next year, especially as the go-to guy for Chambliss.
Which he will be this year. I mean, some of the body control stuff that he does is, and he's got, I mean, breakaway speed, maybe a little undersized, but I mean, there's a lot to like about him.
Yeah, Ole Miss's tape was so fun this past year.
Rob, thank you so much for your time, as always, man. This was exactly what I was hoping it would be, and we'll talk to you again this time next year.
Thanks for having me, as always.
More Sports Talk Mississippi now.
Welcome back in one final time with you on this Thursday. Sports Talk Mississippi. I'm Michael Borky. So glad that you guys are with us. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. We have podcast offerings for the sports fan in Mississippi. Number one, this show right here, Sports Talk Mississippi, wherever you get your podcast, commercial free every single day. Commercial free every day, uploaded for you. Takes about 20 minutes after the show to get it up there. But you get this show every day, Apple, Spotify, wherever. And if you're a Spotify user, don't forget that we have a new Spotify feed. So you have to resubscribe on Spotify, but we're back on Spotify. Check us out there. Also, for you State fans, Thunder and Lightning every single day. Mississippi State, for you Ole Miss fans, Rebel Report, hosted by me. You know, Thunder and Lightning's hate out already. Hosted by me. Again, wherever you get your podcast, and you Southern Miss fans, the SuperTalk Eagle Hour, also available for you as well. Always appreciate our conversation with Rob Paul on the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team. Just thorough. I mean, I could have gone down the list of every single prospect for Ole Miss and State that are not going to get drafted, that are still graduating, and he would have had a take on them. He is just really thorough. And, man, I'm always glad that he joins us. This coming year, you've got a lot. Next year's draft is going to be a heck of a lot more interesting for the state of Mississippi than this year's draft. Now, you've got something. Thompson's going to be kind of a historic selection for Mississippi State. Stribling's going to go pretty early. Like, there's something to pay attention to. You Saints fans, I think Bain is going to go number 8 to the Saints. If you made me bet right now, that's who I would bet on going number 8 to New Orleans. So there's stuff, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to be into it, and it'll be great. Next year's draft, though, with Kelly Jones being, if he just continues on this path, he's going to be a first-round pick. I mean, he already maybe could have been with the right testing. Of course, came back to Mississippi State, which is a great thing for the Bulldogs. But he's got the potential to be a first-round pick. Kewan Lacey, if he continues on this trajectory, especially with, as we talk about all the time, the way he is a willing pass protector, that's going to speak to NFL teams. And he's got the chance to be a first-round pick. You heard Rob mention Deuce Alexander has a chance to be a quality draft pick. I mean, Fluff Bothwell is going to be involved in the draft. Isaac Smith's going to be involved in the draft. I mean, there's a lot on both of these teams where this time next year we're going to have a lot of fun with the NFL draft. I mean, that'll be William Eccles' draft year. That'll be Centarian Perkins' draft year. I think you've got a pair of linebackers at Ole Miss. One of them won't be draft eligible, but the other one is, I think, a potential draft pick. And there's a lot. Not a lot right now, but there's a lot upcoming. But as I told you guys yesterday, I do like something that the NFL has done. I can't believe that I'm giving the NFL credit, because it feels like every move they make lately is anti-fan. I don't know if you guys saw this, but earlier today it appears that the NFL is going to sell more games to YouTube. So, hey, I mean, I know most of you have YouTube, but here's another streaming platform that you have to have on your smart TV in order to watch NFL games. And they're doing all this international stuff, and I don't like that. They're talking about expanding the season to 18 games. Part of me wonders if you're going to start saturating the regular season by having there's just a lot of stuff that they're doing that I am not a fan of. As a big NFL fan, I don't like some of the things that they're doing. The draft time, though, it's going to feel so nice this year, not going to bed at midnight after watching the entire first round. You guys are going to actually sit there, and there's going to be a pick. And then 8 minutes are going to go by, and there's going to be a pick. And then suddenly they're shaving an hour off of the end of the NFL draft. They finally did something that is good, positive, that I'm excited about. And meanwhile, they have not yet reached an agreement with their officials. And so they're going to I wish Haydad was here for this one. Saw reporting earlier today that the NFL has yet to reach an agreement with the officials union, and they're going to start working towards having replacement officials for this season. And as when we brought it up before, as we told you, it's not just an NFL problem because they're going to pull officials from beneath the NFL, presumably. And so then if college loses officials, where are their replacements going to come from? There's a trickle-down effect here that is going to drive one Brian Haydad crazy. And he's not here to talk about this one either. We haven't brought this up yet. The NFL has also tabled the conversation around the tush push. So there's been a push to ban the tush push. There you go. But there has been, and it's not going to happen. The enforcement of it is horrible. There's basically a false start every single time the Eagles do it, and it's just going to continue. So you've got the possibility of replacement refs also trying to officiate the tush push as it currently is written, and it's an impossible play to enforce. You can't replay review it. There's a false start every time. Just a disaster. But the draft is going to be about an hour shorter. So, at least there's that. Thank you so much for making our show a part of your day. We always appreciate you guys being here and listening wherever or however you listen. We'll see you tomorrow at 3. Good night.
Oh, it's incredible! A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.